pressure. Jones goes down. Oh my goodness. Welcome to the game, Cadell. Oh, Darnell Mooney inside the 10. Oh, and it's intercepted. Kane Ellis the pick. Striding out, Jesse. Touchdown, Atlanta. No chance. Oh my gosh. Oh my heavens.
It is week 18, the very last week of the regular season, and we've got a great matchup for you guys, because what a better way to cap off the regular season with rivalry week. And then on top of that, it all comes down to this game for the NFC South, because the Saints and the Falcons are kind of holding the Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers in limbo right now.
Very interesting setup here, where this game has got a lot of playoff implications, but not the two teams that are playing.
Not at all.
There's two other cities that are going to be highly invested in this game.
Highly invested. So thank you guys for joining us for the Falcons pregame show presented by Ticketmaster. Taylor Vismor, that's Rackley. We're with you guys one last time for about 45 minutes to get you ready for this game. We hope that you've all had a very happy New Year and happy holidays. But with the new year comes your New Year's resolutions. Are you a resolution guy, a goal guy?
Yeah,
What's the new?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I've got two that I want to fill you on. I'm going to start eating better this year. I'm going to do some meal prepping.
Okay, meal prep.
Yeah, so I can have some more like protein, leaner meals when I go to work and stuff like that. And my second New Year's resolution is that hopefully I don't have to listen to Taylor Vismor do any country music before the show.
I won't do it.
Because just so you know, this microphone and these earphones are really loud, and I'm not a country guy. And so I'm just hoping I don't have to do any more of that in 2026.
Look,
oh, sorry, I didn't know you were right there.
The people love Brooks and Dunn, and by the people, I mean me, okay? I love Brooks and Dunn, and it needs to be saying. I was just telling our producer, and he agreed with me, Brooks and Dunn, incredible catalog, incredible discography. I was just trying to share it with the world.
Generally, when you lead off a comment by saying everybody likes it, like including me, that means nobody else likes. Oh, sorry. I'm just here for the compliment. So, Taylor, go ahead and let me know when you want to talk. Because
listen, it's just look, I won't serenade. I know that Rackley has serenaded everyone for the pregame show. I won't do that. Pot calling the kettle black over here. But my New Year's resolution was pretty simple.
Okay.
Drink more water, take more steps, you know.
I got it.
The normal things.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. Just try and be a better human these days.
By the way, just so you know, I'm all about getting all the information out. During the workday, she actually works on top of a treadmill.
Every once in a blue moon.
And she just walks.
Look.
And like types and edits all at the same time. I actually think it's pretty talented. Like, because for me, like the screen would be going like this, and I wouldn't be able to concentrate. But no, she just.
Sometimes the vertigo gets going.
Just
and it's like, okay, time to sit down. Time to sit. All right. Well, speaking of New Year's resolutions, when you make these resolutions, you kind of look at the last year as a whole, and we thought we would do the same thing for the 2025 season as a whole, talking about some superlatives. Who's been the best this year? We're going to start with the most impactful rookie, because we've talked about these guys, I think, every single week since they were drafted back in April. They have been the real conversation piece of this team as a whole, from the draft all the way now to week 18. We'll start with the impactful rookie, and I'll start with you. Who is your most impactful rookie
Yeah,
this
I'm
year?
going to go with, that discussion, go all the way back to April, was around the pass rushers and the 2 first-round picks. And I think a lot of people weren't sure whether or not it was going to be Jalen Walker, if it was going to be James Pierce Jr. But for me, going to the statistics, I'm going to give it to James Pierce Jr., what he's been able to do for this team that was so desperate to get pass rush this year. And not only have we gotten it from the first-round picks, we've gotten from everybody on this team. But remember all the way back to week 2 when he got his first sack of the season? Then he went through a little bit of a drought. And then you go back to the Berlin game, and that's when he got another sack. And then it was just week after week after week, and call it 7 straight weeks where he had at least a half a sack in the game. 8.5 sacks now on the season, tied for the team lead, but he leads all rookies in that category, and of course set the new franchise record for most sacks in a season for a rookie is James Pierce Jr. So one of the surprises to me in the draft was Atlanta going back into the first round to get this guy, and this guy was the one that made a huge difference in his first season.
Yeah, it was actually interesting. I got to sit down with Jalen Walker earlier last week, and I was just we were rounding out the year with this interview, just kind of talking about all the things that have happened for him as a rookie, and I said, part of when you came in was Jeff Ulbrich saying we're going to train him at the edge position. How imperative was it for you to have someone like James Pierce that was in a similar position in terms of being a rookie as you, but also being a bona fide starter at the edge position. What was that like? And he said it was awesome because it taught me a lot, and I got to lean on James a lot in terms of the small things that he does that I've never learned how to do because I've never been just an edge rusher. So I think it's been fun to watch James, and I think everyone wanted James to have a great year, and he's done nothing but that. But for me, I did not pick James Pierce Jr. I actually picked someone that I think was the steal of the draft. And like James Pierce, when the Falcons made that trade to get James Pierce, they also made a trade to get Xavier Watts, and that's exactly what they did. They got Xavier Watts in the 3rd round, and I think it was the biggest steal of the draft, in my opinion. He finishes maybe, potentially, if he doesn't do anything today, which that's probably not going to happen. But at this current juncture, through 17 weeks of play, he's had 5 interceptions this season, 10 passes defense. I think what you've seen in Xavier so far this season is the potential to step into the shoes of Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates has 1 season left with the Falcons after this year. So next season will be the last one on his contract. He has talked about over and over again how much Jesse Bates means to him as someone that he enjoys watching their game, but also loves to be poured into from. That's Jesse Bates. I think what you have seen from Xavier Watts is someone that fits the mold of what Jesse Bates can be later in his career, and I think that all started this year in his rookie year.
Yeah, Taylor, so often with rookies, it depends on what organization that you go to is wildly important. But even more important to that is what meeting room, what position group that you go in. And there probably couldn't have been a better one than going in with Jesse Bates, knowing that he has been the guy that has been the takeaway captain throughout the course of his career, and how he gets interceptions and how he gets forced fumbles, and he just finds his way around the football. But for him to be able to come into that meeting room and pick his brain, understand how Jesse Bates studies, understand how he breaks down tape, understand how he anticipates plays, and to your point, like, you're starting to see a lot of like mini Jesse happening already in this young man's career.
Yeah, and the way that they walk throughout the building, they're kind of quiet guys. They come in, they do their job. They are very serious about their job. They love what they do, but when they're done with their job, they're going home, and they're going home with their iPad to watch more film. So it's going to be fun watching him throughout the remainder of his contract here with the Falcons. Let's go ahead and move on to the offensive MVP. We both have the same one. I think everyone, if you asked him who's the Falcons' most valuable player on the offensive side of the ball, everyone's going to have the same exact answer. It's, of course, Bijan Robinson. This guy, in the last 3 seasons that he's been with the Falcons, has probably been the offensive MVP since he got here in Atlanta. This year, obviously, is no exception. Last week alone, he had 195 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. 1 was receiving, 1 was rushing. That alone shows you how special this guy is. He leads the league in scrimmage yards, over 2,000 scrimmage yards in this year alone. I'll kind of give you the floor now on why he is your offensive MVP.
You're always looking for consistency as an organization, as an offense, and where are you going to get that from? And it's just easy that you don't have to look anywhere else to know that you're going to get consistent play somehow, some way from Bijan Robinson. And obviously, he's got that versatility. He's got that unique trait that he can help you running the football, as we saw Monday night against the Rams. He can help you receiving out of the backfield. And he can do both of those almost equally as well. So when you think about consistency, a lot of times for a wide receiver, right, it's, does the guy end up with 5, 6, 7 catches every week? For a quarterback, does he end up having a higher completion rate every week? Or does he get everybody involved every week? For defensive backs, it's, do they make tackles? Do they take the football away? But for a running back, and one with the specific skill set of Bijan Robinson, he can help in multiple ways, and he does that each and every week. And I think it's a reason why defenses struggle so much with how are they going to slow him down, because it's like, all right, hey guys, we got to go into this game. We got to stop the run. We got to make sure Bijan Robinson does not hurt us in the run game. And he's like, well, that's only one part.
Right.
Because if you're going to slow me down in the run game, you're going to have to find out how to slow me down in the pass game as well. And nobody's really been able to figure that out in both phases of the game. He's consistent. That's the reason why he's the offensive MVP. And we talk about some of the accolades. Like, we could devote an entire 45-minute show on just what he's done early on in his career.
Yeah.
Think about if he stays healthy, and does this for 3, 6, 9, 12 more years,
yeah,
who knows what the conversations are going to be like for the young man.
I love the consistent piece there because I do think over the last 3 seasons, this one included, you look at this offense and it has been inconsistent from terms of production, from the beginning of the year to where you are now, or the beginning of 2024 to where they ended in 2024. Different quarterback, different wide receivers. There's a lot of changes that happens each and every season for any club, whether it's you're 32nd in the league or you're first in the league. You're going to have changes over the duration of 18 weeks. But I think what Bijan Robinson, like you said, has brought to this offense and this organization as a whole is that consistency, the ability to go out and do it every single week. Let's switch over the different side of the ball here. Defensive MVP. I'm going to start with this one. It's pretty obvious. It's Caden Ellis for me. And listen, here's the thing. Caden Ellis was, I think, the defensive MVP for both of us last year when we did this. And, I mean, it was obvious, right? He led the team in tackles. He's been this mouthpiece. He was the green dot for the defense. But I think what was so interesting this year watching Caden Ellis throughout the entire season was that you actually heard his name less, which I think is better for Caden, because I think when Jeff Ulbrich came in, he said, you're doing a lot, and I need you to focus on what you do the best, which is stopping the run, which is sometimes getting after the passer as well. And I think he's done that insatiably well. I think it's been such a fun year to watch Caden do it. And I think what's going to be interesting moving forward is, will he be here next year? This is the last year on his active contract with the Falcons, but I think this was a steal in free agency. I think he has become the defensive MVP and really the better defensive vet of this defense as a whole that kind of keeps guys grounded both on the field and off the field as well.
Another one of those guys that's super consistent. He's going to be on the field, and it's hard to argue that one. But for sake of variety here, I'm going to go back and I'm going to give the award to Xavier Watts because of what he's done throughout the course of the season as a rookie. And that's been the difference maker. We talked about it, yes, the 5 interceptions, the most for the Atlanta Falcons franchise since Deion Sanders. Last time a rookie has been able to do that. Think about the amount of time through this organization, and now Xavier Watts in his young career has already done that in his rookie season. But he's also number 3 on the team in tackles. So he's not just this guy playing back in center field that's trying to pick off passes and he's breaking them up, and he's having a great season. A lot of times when you hear about defensive backs, it's just because of how they take the football away, or maybe they're forcing fumbles, recovering fumbles. The difference is him is he's a willing and able tackler. Yeah. He wants to get down in the box, and if somebody ends up making a catch downfield, he's going to go try to find a way to get him down on the ground. So his versatility, talked about that a lot with Bijan Robinson, his versatility on the defense, I think, has been a huge boost. His ability to take the ball away, but also being able to be active in the tackling game.
All right, we hit impactful rookie. Let's talk about the breakout player now. So these are not for the rookies because we already talked about the most impactful ones. Who is your breakout player of the year this year?
Yeah, mine is going to be Brandon Dorless because when we think about, okay, how do you improve a team that struggled badly in pass rush is, yes, you got to go out and you got to get some new guys that you feel like can bring some new blood, some new talent to the pass rushing room. But the second element to me is, how do you develop players that are already on your roster? How do you get them one step better than they were a year ago? And I don't think you look any further than Brandon Dorless, guy that played in very minimal games 2 games last year, had 3 tackles, no sacks. 3 tackles, no sacks. Folks, he tied for the team lead in sacks this year, and he's not going to play today due to an injury, but he's got 8.5 sacks this year. So think about, how do you improve in pass rush? Yeah, you got to bring in some guys that can get after the quarterback, but the guys that are on your roster, can you improve Dorless? Can you improve Orororo? Can you improve Ebiketie? That's what we've seen this year because so many guys have gotten into the mix, but nobody more, in my opinion, than Brandon Dorless.
Yeah, I agree. I think Brandon Dorless has had a great season, but I think for me, one of the guys, I don't think he was really on anyone's radar to really be a change maker for this defense was LaCale London. I think coming into the season and even throughout the middle of the season, people were like, who is that? Who is that London guy? That's not Drake London. Yeah. Who is the London? Who is that? LaCale London has right now has 6 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, 4 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. I mean, I think coming in, he's a UDFA, right? I think the expectations for London, if there were any, were pretty low of what he was going to be able to do. And then you look at Jeff Ulbrich, and I think he has this no stone left unturned way of coaching. Of if you're on this team, we're going to figure out how you can help us. And for somehow, some way, they have figured it out with LaCale London, and he has just come to life so much in the latter half of the season, especially. I think his breakout game specifically was the New England game up in against the Patriots. He had 2 sacks that game. I think he's been a quiet guy throughout the season, but he's my breakout player of the year this year.
Mentioned UDFA, undrafted free agent. A lot of times in the NFL, it doesn't matter how you really got to the league.
Yeah.
It's what you do once you got here. Because then after that, they don't really care where you drafted, what round, what college you went to. It's now like, can you make plays?
Yes.
Can you consistently go out and do something that helps your team offensively, defensively? And I think you're seeing that with London.
Yeah, all right, guys. Speaking of guys that doesn't really show up on the stat sheet are the guys that are the biggest and the baddest on the team. Who that reward
Well,
today?
this one is like, do we automatically have to go with big guys because we said biggest and baddest? Well, yes, because I look at a guy like Jake Matthews and you say he's big and he's bad too because he is always in the lineup. If we're talking about consistency, it's hard when you're talking about a grand scheme of a team because an offensive lineman doesn't necessarily have stats. But if you think about consistency, you don't have to look any further than Jake Matthews. Franchise record 194 straight regular season games started. Taylor, that is 40 more than any other active player. And you might say, oh, wow, 40 more, that's a lot more. Then I thought about it. That's 2.5 seasons more, okay? So if Jake Matthews decided that he wanted to retire today, Kevin Byard, who's behind him, would have to start 2.5 more seasons just to catch up. So that to me, like you start thinking about that after a while. And this is coming from a guy that played in a league that knows how hard it is just to play in every game, nonetheless to start in every game, nonetheless to do it on the offensive line where it's the most physical that you can find. Like guys are falling on you left and right. I mean, you think about the strength, the versatility, and the toughness of this guy. Look no further than Jake Matthews.
Well, what's crazy is not just how long he's been in this league, but I don't think he's looking to retire anytime soon. I mean,
Why?
The way that he's been able to play at the consistency, I think for a lot of these guys that are in the interior for both offense and defenses, they get to a point where it's like, I just can't do it like I used to. My body is just not holding up. I think his body's holding up just fine. I don't think he's having any problems playing really well. So excited to see how much longer he can stay in the league and stay healthy in the league as well. For me, the biggest and the baddest was David Onyemata. Now, this is another guy kind of that hasn't gotten a ton of name dropping. People aren't really talking about David Onyemata a lot. And here's why I think he's the biggest and baddest for me. When Grady Jarrett left, there were so many questions about what was going to happen with this defensive interior. How are they going to hold up without Grady Jarrett? David Onyemata stepped up, and also with Grady Jarrett was all that conversation with him leaving was, well, Rook is going to have to show up. Brandon Dorlus is going to have to show up. Someone's got to lead them. And that's been David Onyemata. Someone has to lead Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. And yes, while that is flow in terms of being able to go out and show them how to be a professional at the edge position, David Onyemata is helping teach them how to be a Falcon. I think if you don't have David Onyemata on this team, on this defensive front, you don't have the season that you have had at all with the younger guys starting around him consistently.
Having those leaders that have been around the league, that have seen some things, and you mentioned what it takes to be a Falcon, but also just to be an NFL player. Like Onyemata can talk to people about struggles and playing for different organizations and having to learn new systems and new schemes and still be successful. So I agree. I think he's, to use another term, he's been the glue of that defensive line this year from a leadership perspective, a veteran perspective on how you show up each and every week. And I think everybody else is fed off of him. Yeah,
well, it's going to be fun for David Onyemata today because he's looking at his past team, hoping to get another one and keep this win streak alive. Both of these teams have a win streak today. Saints are on a 4-game win streak, Falcons on a 3-game win streak. This is the longest win streak for either of these clubs so far this season. And right now, the Falcons are leading the series 57-56. And I think every year it's been Falcons are up 1, oh, now we're tied again. Falcons are up 1, oh, we're tied again. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Falcons can get the sweep because, like we mentioned at the top of the show, there's a lot more at stake than just the bragging rights of your division rival. If the Falcons win today, they will end up in 3rd place, and the Carolina Panthers will get into the playoffs for the NFC South. if the Saints win today, the Buccaneers will get into the playoff. The Falcons will end in 4th. I know there's a lot to talk about here with the NFC South as a whole, but I want to focus on the Falcons specifically. You're either going to end up 3rd or 4th. How imperative is finishing this season with a win today for the Falcons looking towards the future?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to go into the offseason saying, yay, we were 3rd in the division with a win, right? They're like, everybody is still upset. Everybody's frustrated. Everybody has the goals have not been achieved. But nobody wants to go into the postseason looking up at the standings for, call it, the next 9 months, seeing that the Atlanta Falcons were last in the NFC South. Nobody wants to see that, right? But you don't have to talk to these players, and trust me, Jesse Bates and Xavier Watts, like, they're not thinking about our result to get Carolina into the postseason. They're going out being professionals, and their job is, like, we want to go beat the Saints. Like, we want to go in a rivalry matchup and say that we were 2-0 against them this year. We want to take advantage of who they don't have playing today, and whatever ends up happening in the postseason, because we didn't take care of business earlier in the season, we cannot control that, right?
Yeah.
So their job is to go out, be pros, win this football game, and yes, would that end up getting the Panthers into the postseason? Absolutely. But when the NFL ended up kind of devising the schedule to have these conference matchups, these divisional matchups at the end of the season, I'm not quite sure this was the design, to have two teams that were not going to the postseason, but their result affects the postseason. But at least you've got something very meaningful on the line here in Week 18.
Yeah, it's very only in the NFC South is that going to happen, where two teams that are not going to the playoffs affect the playoffs mightily. That all happens today. But listen, like you said, they're trying to go out and get a win against the Saints. They're not trying to help the Carolina Panthers get in, and they're not trying to help the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get in. Both of these teams are trying to keep their win streaks alive. And Tyler Shuck, when last time we saw him back in Week 12, he'd only had a couple starts at that point. He has been on a tear recently. In the last 4 games, he has a 71% completion rate on 32 attempts per game on average, 4 touchdowns. 2 of those came last week. Why is it going to be imperative to stop Tyler Shuck today, and how has his game changed from the last time that we saw him?
Well, let me start with the first question. Is the reason why it's going to be important to stop him is because he's kind of the biggest playmaker that they have left, like New Orleans, and we'll get to this in a minute. They're going to be without a lot of their consistent playmakers that everybody has gotten used to seeing over the years. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Shuck, as you mentioned, been playing really well. Anytime a quarterback in the NFL is completing 70+% of his passes, you look at that. I mean, that's the reason why Drake May is getting so much conversation for what he's doing in New England, is because he's leading the NFL in completion rate, and his team is one of the best in the National Football League. Now, it's not the entire season, but that's what Tyler Shuck has been doing. They drafted him with a second-round pick this year, and they've waited until it was like his time, and now he's kind of taking advantage of his opportunity and making a claim that, hey, I'm going to be the starter for the New Orleans Saints, at least to start next year, from what he's put out on the field so far. The thing that we also know is they've not been afraid to throw the football with him. In the matchup earlier this year, he threw the ball 43 times.
Yeah.
So what does that do for a team that's been pretty good getting after the quarterback this year? That's opportunities to do that. There's opportunities. You talk about the sacks. He's been sacked in these 9 games 27 times.
Yeah.
So that's an average of 3 per game. The opportunities will be there if they can beat people up front. But slowing him down is going to be the biggest goal defensively here for Atlanta.
You mentioned the sacks. The last time Falcons saw this Saints team, they sacked Shuck 5 times. Now, here's something interesting for the Falcons for you guys to watch today. They are 3 sacks away from a franchise record. So obviously, only 2 sacks away to tie the record. We're going to be able to see, like you said, on average 3 sacks a game. If they can keep that average up, if the Saints can give away 3 sacks and the Falcons can find those 3 sacks, they will break a franchise record. Look at these guys above. Rook, Brandon, Jalen, James, all guys that are 2 years or younger in this league. What they have been able to do as a young defensive front has been impressive, and it's going to be interesting to see if they'll be able to do that again today, get 3, maybe 5 sacks again against the Saints. But something else interesting about this Falcons defense is last week they had 3 takeaways. Jesse Bates, of course, had the pick 6. And then Xavier Watts, the rookie, had 2 interceptions, one of which he was trying to make a pick 6, but he did step out a good. But I did love the sell though.
Yep.
With that second.
Sell it.
Love the sell. But the interesting part about Shuck is he has not thrown a pick since Tampa, which was week 14. When you look at this with this guy, because you've mentioned they're not afraid to make him throw the ball, and they're going to make him throw the ball a lot. But he throws insanely accurately. How can you get this guy, who is still a rookie, to make the mistakes later in this game as well.
Well, it's like I go back to last week, right? Xavier Watts on one of the interceptions, not the one that the one that he almost took back. It was his understanding of the down and distance, so the positioning that they were in the game. It was like a third and short situation, third and medium, and they knew that they were going to probably try to devise a route that was something to pick up the first down. And then his anticipation, like his understanding of the down and distance and then anticipation is the reason why he was able to get that interception, because he undercuts the route when they're trying to pick up a first down. And so those are the times where, like, when a receiver runs a great route and a quarterback throws the football on time, sometimes you don't have a chance, right? Because that's just good operational football. But it's the other times when you understand the situation of the game, Taylor, when you can try to use your game film study and your instincts to go undercut something and make a play. Will it happen today? I don't know. But you got to think, with these two safeties, playing with a little bit of confidence, knowing what they did less than a week ago inside of this building, they're going to find an opportunity to see if they can pounce on one and take away a possession.
Yeah, normally with rookie quarterbacks, there are those opportunities that come up a little bit more often for these guys in the backfield to take it away and make these big picks. But normally with rookie quarterbacks, you would need some veteran presence to be your pass catchers and be able to go out and get the balls and get the 50-50 balls. Chris Olave, earlier in the week, it came out that they found a blood clot in his lung. He will be out today due to that illness. We are hopeful that he will make a full recovery. So are the Saints. They've released a statement saying that they are expecting him to make a full recovery. Thank the Lord that they found the blood clot before anything else happened, but he will be out today. So with Chris Olave out, Alvin Kamara is also out. A lot of guys are out for this Saints offense. Who are some guys to be looking at today that Shuck is going to lean on heavily?
I think the one name to me that sticks out now is their tight end, Juwan Johnson, who's having a really good season. He's actually fourth in the National Football League among tight ends in receiving yards, and he's had a career year so far when it comes to his receptions and his yards. Now, not touchdowns, but he has been a very consistent force for them. He had 4 catches for 95 yards last week in their game against Tennessee, and I think he's one of those guys that Shuck is going to have to look in his direction, because he did have Chris Olave last week, and he had him the last couple of weeks, and he was over 100 yards. And Alvin Kamara generally is a really good wide receiving threat coming out of the backfield because of his quickness and his ability to get himself open. Those options are not going to be there. Now, yes, somebody could end up stepping up and being a difference maker, but if I'm Atlanta, I'm looking at Juwan Johnson. I'm saying this is the guy in the passing game that's not going to beat us, because he's been the most consistent threat that your quarterback is likely going to try and target. Don't let him have a big day.
Yeah, Rattler also out of this game, so Taysom Hill will be that second quarterback in case anything happens for Shuck. But he's also a major threat because he kind of plays the tight end. He can kind of play wide receiver, can play everything. So how do you expect this Saints offense to work Taysom Hill into the fold as well with Juwan Johnson? Yeah,
so what's going to happen with Kamara out, Devin Neal going on IR earlier this year, they're decimated an injury at the running back position, so we're likely going to see a lot of Audric Estime, who almost had 100 yards in the game last week, and also Evan Hull. So think about run game with Taysom Hill. A lot of times that Atlanta has seen him throughout his career, it's been in short yardage, it's been in third down, fourth down. They get close to the goal line and they go with him at the quarterback or wildcat position because of his physicality and his comfort level, having played quarterback in his college days, on using that strength to be able to pick up some of those difficult yards. So they're still going to find a way to get him involved in the game plan. But to me, I'm expecting, if it's third and short, fourth and short, you better watch for number 7 coming on the field, because those are the prime opportunities for him to make a difference, and they've shown that throughout the course of his career.
Yeah, and I feel like whenever Taysom Hill plays the Falcons, he just has him dialed. Like he always has really great games. So watch out for number 7. They need to watch out for number 7. Falcons need to watch out for number 7. Just everyone watch number 7 today. But speaking of inactives, let's go ahead and get to those, because there was some major news that came down the pipeline for the Falcons regarding some illnesses. For right now, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Mooney, they were all coming into the game questionable. They will all play today. AJ Terrell, Rook, Liam McCullough, all also questionable. They're all going to play today. A lot of these guys are going to be working through a little bit of illness. Look guys, it's January. It's cold outside. A lot of them have children. They're all back at school. The germs are moving around. So Nothing crazy there. In terms of inactives, Brandon Dorlus will be inactive. There was a lot of questions about what would happen with Brandon Dorlus because, as many of you know, he was helped off the field with a lot of the training staff last week to get him off the field, and then he couldn't even walk to the locker room. He had to be carted off the field to the locker room. There were a lot of questions and concerns regarding whether it was a knee injury or not. Raheem Morris spoke to media earlier in the week to clear up any of the questions that they had about Brandon Dorlus.
We dodged a big-time bullet.
Okay.
We feel pretty good about the injury. He's going to miss a couple of weeks. Obviously, he'll miss this game. But we do know we feel really good about what happened as opposed to what everybody thought. For I know, it's not a ligament.
Okay.
That's torn. So, dodged a big-time bullet that way. But he's got an injury that's going to require a couple of weeks. But
Surgery? No surgery.
That I don't know yet.
Okay.
But it looks good. It's really good. Actually, it's a hamstring.
It's a hamstring.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so not a ligament, not even the knee. It's the hamstring, and what I think is such a breath of okay, it's going to be okay. Is that there is no? It doesn't at this point seem like there's going to need to be any surgery for Brandon Dorlus. I mean, I think for those interior guys, when you have any kind of surgery on your legs, it becomes a mental battle of, we were talking about with Jake Matthews earlier.
Yeah.
It's a violent game in the trenches. So very good news for Brandon Dorlus to not have any surgery down the pipeline at this time with that hamstring.
Yeah, because, obviously we could just go back earlier this year with Michael Penix, and so much of the conversation has been around what is his health going to look like next year. Well, then think about all the players that end up having these bad injuries like week 18 of the season. Is you wonder whether or not they're going to be ready to go at the start of the next year. So with Raheem Morris making those comments that it's a hamstring, it's not overly serious, it's good news for a guy that we just talked about that made such an improvement this year that you'd like to think is going to be a big focal point of that defensive line next year.
All right, well, good news for Brandon Dorlus. Let's go ahead and move on a little bit more about this matchup. As you know, both of these teams are on a win streak right now. Like I mentioned, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, all questionable coming into this game. Falcons released a statement saying that Kirk Cousins will be active, but he woke up feeling a little bit ill today.
Yeah.
How does that affect? I mean, I know that he's a baller, right? He's a professional. He comes in, he can do his job really well. But knowing all those things, that most of your pass catchers, most of your big names were questionable coming into this game, and now Kirk Cousins is feeling a little bit ill. How does that affect the offense moving forward?
Listen, I don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you from experience, I had to play a couple games through my NFL career where I was sick, I was under the weather, I had the flu, I had a fever, whatever the case may be. But a lot of times when guys are kind of battling some illness, Taylor, they lock in even more because they know they're under the weather, and they end up playing really well. So that's something to keep an eye on, is these guys that you're hearing have some illnesses, they may end up having great games because they're thinking so much about, I can't let this impact me. I can't let everybody think that I'm less of 100% because I'm under the weather, and they just come out even more determined. And that might end up being the case. And to your point, I've been around the NFL calling games the last few weeks, and every injury report I'm looking at now is not necessarily injuries. It's illness, illness. Guys are just fighting that at this time of the year. You mentioned it's December, it's January, the weather's changing outside. It just happens every single year. And unfortunately, these are the things that you got to play through sometimes.
Yeah, one other thing I know about Kirk is, number one, he's been in the league for a while now, and number two, he's got 2 kids. I mean, that's the name of the game when you got young kids, is you're going to get sick. And knowing that he's been in the league for as long as he has, he knows how to deal with this. Speaking of people that have been in the league for a long time, is this Saints defense. This is one of the older defenses in all of the league, but they're only averaging 17 points per game allowed during the win streak the last 4 games. But I actually went back and looked at the math of the first 2 levels of this defense, because I do know that the Saints defense is relatively older, and we've talked ad nauseum about how young this Falcons defense is. On average, the Saints first 2 levels of this defense, they average 8.5 years of experience. This Falcons defense, though, only averages 4 and 77.
So a little less than 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for this Falcons defense. So knowing what this defense has, they got a lot of experience going against Kirk Cousins. What do you expect from them today?
Yeah, I mean, the two that stick out to me are the two that I know that we talked about the last time that we played the Saints was Cam Jordan. He's got 29 career games against the Atlanta Falcons, and he's got 25 career sacks in those 29 games against Atlanta, the most that he's had against any team. Now, yes, he's played his entire career, so he plays the majority of his games against the Falcons, the Buccaneers, and the Panthers, but his 25 sacks against Atlanta is far more than what he has against Tampa and Carolina. So you talk about another guy that locks in when he plays against a rival in the Atlanta Falcons. So you got to make sure that he is accounted for. Demario Davis is another one of those guys that he's 14 years in the league, and he has been with a couple of different teams, but this guy is so consistent. He's now his 9th straight season with 100-plus tackles. So there's a reason why, Taylor, you have two guys like that are playing this long in the NFL, because they continue to be extremely productive. So those are generally where the eyes go. But again, it's just back to execution. It's like something that New Orleans has to think about is how do we slow down Bijan Robinson? And then if we could slow him down, then we got these two guys on the outside that are matchup nightmares in Pitts and London. They've got their hands full there. So, again, Atlanta goes back to you got to execute up front. You got to keep guys off of Kirk Cousins and then get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. And Bijan Robinson has shown us what he can do.
You mentioned Bijan Robinson. Right now, he is the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. We mentioned his stats earlier, 195 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns for him last week. I mean, watching him is incredible. He had the longest touchdown in, I think, Falcons franchise history, and the longest touchdown in his career, obviously 93 yards to the house. Incredible to watch. Right now, Bijan is on pace to lead the NFL in scrimmage yards and would be the 3rd Falcon to do so, joining Julio Jones and William Andrews. When you hear those names, we've mentioned it all the time with Bijan. He lives in rare air. What kind of party is he joining today if he can continue on with this?
Well, if we know Bijan Robinson, he's not going to be having any parties just because of the way he is. He's going to be the guy that, like, after this game, he's going to go home and he's going to watch tape, and then he's probably going to go to the gym.
Right.
He's probably going to figure out, like, how he can get better just because he's just wired differently than everybody else. But you mentioned on pace to lead the NFL in scrimmage yards. Remember, Christian McCaffrey is done. Played last night. Only had 57 yards in that game. And then the only other one with a chance is Jonathan Taylor, and I think my math shows me he's like 330 yards away if Bijan Robinson does nothing in the game today. So we're likely going to be looking at a guy that leads the NFL in scrimmage yards this year, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a guy that's been, you want to talk about modeling a player to be kind of the face of your franchise. Generally, that's reserved for quarterbacks. But this might be the exception where your running back is the face of the franchise because he is just that good of a guy and a player.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. And let's go ahead now. It's our last one of the year. Keys to the game.
Oh, are you getting sentimental?
I'm sad. 3 years, you guys.
I know.
3 years. All right, you've got 3 for me.
I do.
Go ahead with your first
All right,
key.
let's go ahead with stopping the run. And you might say, well, gosh, like they don't have any running backs. That should be pretty easy. Guess what? You always have to think about stopping the run. And I talked about Audric Estime's likely going to get a majority of the carries. He almost had 100 yards last week. Like, make the team one-dimensional, whether it's Estime, whether it's Hull, whether it's Taysom Hill, whether it's Tyler Shuck, the quarterback, is running the football. Stop the run. Make a team one-dimensional, and then force Tyler Shuck, the young player, to put the ball through the air and see if he can continue to play with this completion rate that he's been. See if he can be as efficient as he has been over the last 4 weeks. And I like the chances with this pass rushers, and I like the chances with these defensive backs, especially what we saw Monday night, but that all starts with stopping the run.
If you stop the run, you're going to force Shuck to have the ball in his hands, and then you have the potential of breaking a franchise record.
I mean, why not? Like, be a part of that team.
It's written in the stars. It's written in the stars. What's your second key to the game today?
Well, we saw it on Monday night against Matthew Stafford, a guy that had not turned the football over much at all this season, and Atlanta found a way to get takeaways on defense. And I think that same story holds true in this game tonight. Now, Tyler Shuck's been pretty good in protecting the football, but you got 2 safeties in Jesse Bates and Xavier Watts that are coming off a monumental performance. 3 interceptions combined, 1 of them taken back for a touchdown. Of course, Jesse Bates, I don't know if we said it, by the way, only player in the NFL to have a pick 6 in each of the last 3 seasons. Only player in the NFL. I like those statements when you can say you're the only player in the NFL to do something. We've got Bijan Robinson, you've got Jesse Bates, and there's going to be some other guys that probably in that category, but find a way to get those takeaways. Yes, I'm talking about interceptions, but we'll take strip sacks, we'll take forced fumbles, and we'll take takeaways on special teams as well. Take them however they come.
You mentioned the pick 6s for Jesse. Yes, all three have come in the consecutive years that he's been here. They've all been in the red helmet. Something special with that red helmet.
Something
I don't know what it is with
special
Jesse
about
Bates in that red helmet, but I'm excited when I see three with the red helmet on. All right, third and final key to the game today.
The third one is just going to be put it all together, right? Like, and what I mean by that is a lot of the keys that I've been talking about throughout the course of the season, and we'll get two of them, but we won't get the third, right? But I'm thinking about starting fast. I'm thinking about playing discipline. I'm talking about staying on schedule. I'm talking about finishing. Like, how many times has Atlanta been in great position to start the second half, and then they've struggled with finishing? And then how about win on special teams? Like, that was actually, I was thinking about just having that as being a key, because there was another big mistake in that game Monday night. Even though we got a game-winning field goal, but we also got a kick blocked that came back for points. I think this team, more than a win, the special teams unit needs to send this season off on a much more solid note than what we've seen throughout the course of the year. And that's just consistent, solid play and win that third phase of the game. But put everything together. I think you put everything together, you're going to see a pretty good product on the field.
Yeah, I'm excited for what they'll be able to put together today. But my preference, my last preference, not ever, of the season is just to finish strong. Look, we've talked about it. I've mentioned it a couple times throughout this show. Saints are on a 4-game win streak. Falcons are on a 3-game win streak. Let's just finish this season strong. Get to the 4-game win streak. I know the playoffs we're not in contention. We're playing to see who we're going to send to the playoffs at this point. But why don't you just finish the season strong where you are? I talked to a couple of guys earlier in the week, too, about the culture building that they are doing. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times on the show as well. But at this point in the season, you are building a culture. You are winning games to sustain you into the 2026-2027 season. So it's going to be exciting. Hopefully they can finish it out strong like we just did this show.
That is right. Finishing it out strong.
Yes, it's been a fun year, you guys.
You know, I would have loved bonus shows in the postseason. And just like everybody else, people want to see more Falcons. Coaches want to get more games. Players want to get in the postseason. We want to do more postseason shows. It's not in the cards this year, but maybe if a win today continues to set the foundation for next year, maybe we'll get some bonus shows in 2026.
Look, this is why I love this job. We could potentially have bonus shows, bonus football. Part of the job that I love is I get bonus clothes.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I have to plug this. This is the Fear of God collection for the Falcons. I'm not going to turn around, but it is a throwback Falcon on the back. It is a crew neck with a little hoodie, like pocket situation that you get in most hoodies. It's very cozy, you guys. It's a little chilly outside, and I'm enjoying what I'm wearing. I normally wear very uncomfortable clothes because it's fashion.
I know. When I walked in today, I was like, look at you in the comfortable sweatshirt today.
I'm comfy.
Good for you.
You know?
Good
and look, guys, we just want to say thank you for watching us all season long through all 18 weeks or 17 weeks of football that we have had the show on for. You guys, thank you for hanging out with us. I want to send a special shout out to a couple of the guys on the crew and one very special lady. She's going to ESPN to be in Bristol working with ESPN full-time. Sophia, our seasonal this year for the studio team. She's going to do amazing things at ESPN. Also, thank you to Sam, Sawyer, Jared, who just work on the show week in, week out. Could not do this without you guys. Appreciate you guys. We will see you next year, or we'll see you at the draft. For our draft show.
Yes, it's 2026, but it's not next year. But we'll see you guys soon. How about that?
Oh, there we go. We'll see you guys soon. See ya.